The third really important thing is to set communication boundaries early. This is a really big one, and it can really, if you don't get this right, it is a fast track to burnout. Have you ever had a client text you at 9 p.m. expecting an immediate answer? Send 10 emails in a row, then wonder why they haven't heard back? Call constantly, even for non-urgent things. This is happening when you don't set clear communication boundaries up front. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Thursday episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. If you're an interior designer who's ever found yourself knee-deep in a project, frustrated with a client who keeps pushing boundaries, questioning pricing, or expecting things you never agreed to, this episode is for you. Here's the truth. 90% of client issues can be prevented before they even start. And how do you do that? With a strong onboarding process. One that sets clear expectations, eliminates confusion, and establishes the kind of trust that makes for a smooth, stress-free project. Today, I'm going to talk about exactly what you need in your onboarding process and how getting this right from day one can protect your time, your profit, and your sanity. And if you're struggling with this is exactly what I cover in my course, The Process Step 1. So if you want to refine your onboarding for smoother projects, I definitely encourage you to go and check out the course. I will put the link in the show notes. I see it all the time. Designers come to me frustrated saying, my client keeps asking for extras without paying for them, or they don't understand why trade pricing works the way it does, or they're pushing back on my process and trying to micromanage everything. And the first question that I ask the designer is, what did you tell them on day one? Because the reality is most client issues don't come from bad clients. They come from a lack of clarity at the start. If clients don't know what to expect, they'll fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. And more often than not, their expectations will be way off from how a design business actually runs. If you want to avoid these headaches, here are the 3 things that you need to do before the contract is even signed. The first is be crystal clear on scope. Your clients need to know exactly what they're getting, and just as importantly, they need to know what they're not getting. I always recommend having a clear scope of work document that outlines what's included in your service, what's not included, how revisions and additional requests are handled, and also a timeline around the works. How does this prevent issues? Well, if a client comes back later asking for just one more revision or a few extra options, you can confidently point back to the agreement and say, absolutely, here's how the process for this additional work happens. This takes the emotion out of it, and it's not you being difficult, it's just the system you already set in place. The second really important aspect of this is educating your clients on trade pricing and keeping it transparent. One of the biggest sources of confusion I see in design projects is trade pricing. Clients don't always understand how it works, and if you're not upfront about it, you'll find yourself in awkward conversations down the track. Here's a couple of things that I recommend. Include a trade price explainer in your onboarding pack. Even if you talk about how you deal with trade pricing in your fee proposal, which you most definitely should be, go back and talk about it again in your onboarding pack. Be upfront about how you structure your pricing. Whatever it is, whatever way you have worked out works best for your studio, just be upfront about it and be transparent. Reinforce that trade discounts aren't savings for the client. They're part of your business model. And I really encourage you to not use trade discounts. It is trade pricing. It is the price that is available to you because you are a member of the trade. When a client already knows how pricing works, they won't question it later. This means no uncomfortable conversations, no second guessing, and no having to defend your fees mid-project. And if you need help simplifying and streamlining your pricing model, this is definitely something we can look at in the health check, because the clearer your pricing, the easier your client relationships will be. The third really important thing is to set communication boundaries early. This is a really big one, and it can really, if you don't get this right, it is a fast track to burnout. Have you ever had a client text you at 9 p.m. expecting an immediate answer? Send 10 emails in a row, then wonder why they haven't heard back? Call constantly, even for non-urgent things. This is happening when you don't set clear communication boundaries up front. Here's a couple of ways to fix this. Office hours. Let them know when they can expect to hear from you and when you're unavailable. I also encourage you to put this in your email signature, especially if you might work Tuesday to Friday, or you might do school pickup and you say, I will not be looking at emails after 3 p.m. I will come back to you in the next business day. Preferred contact method. Are you an email-only person, or do you use a project management tool, or are you more of a phone call sort of person? Tell them how you like to communicate. They might be the same, or it might be something that you need to work out. What is their preferred contact method and what is your preferred contact method? If you don't really like phone calls, try and educate your clients that you'd rather them send you an email. Response times. If they email you, when should they expect a reply? Set a standard expectation. Like, I will reply to this email within 24 to 48 hours. Clients don't get frustrated waiting for responses because they already know what to expect, and you don't feel like you're constantly on call. When you get your onboarding process right, everything about your projects runs more smoothly. You spend less time putting out fires, clients feel more confident in your process, there's less pushback on pricing and scope, and you actually enjoy working with your clients. And the best part is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel every single project. A strong onboarding process is repeatable. Once you set it up, you can use it over and over again, refining it as needed. And if you're thinking, this sounds great, but I don't know where to start, that's exactly where my course, The Process, and also our health check come in. This is exactly the kind of thing that we do inside the health check sessions. We map out your onboarding process, we refine your pricing transparency, and we make sure you have everything you need to set strong client expectations from day one. If you take one thing away from today, let it be this. Client relationships don't just happen, they're built. You set the tone, you define the process, you have the power to create an experience that is clear, simple, and stress-free for both you and your clients. So if you're tired of dealing with messy projects and frustrated clients, take a step back and look at your onboarding. What's missing? What could be clearer? Where do you need to set better boundaries? And if you want help refining it, book in a health check. Because when your processes are strong from the start, everything else in your business gets easier. That's it for today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. And if you've got any questions, please send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email. I really do love chatting to interior designers and helping them build better businesses. And if you're ready to streamline your onboarding and take control of your client experience, book in a health check. All the details are in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you for our next Design Dialogues.